coming. Gentlemen, I just will go down and as I will take a photograph right in the new sari to leave for the puja. I'll just come. Don't laugh. Yeah, I'm here. Wow.
सही कर लिया ना मेरे को
Yeah, just coming up. I'll let people in. Alright, gentlemen, I'm back. So, if anybody has a query, let's start off with this in the beginning. And then perhaps we can. It's about 4 o'clock. I would not like to keep the lady waiting here. So.
Mic oh, my mic is not working. Yes, sir. I'll stay.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Now? Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, alright. Alright, so it's 4 and there's a lady here with us who is joining on behalf of her husband, so I would not like to keep waiting. So let's get on with this. Any questions? If you can give me some lead and I can start working on that.
Sir, hello, sir. Sandeep here, sir. Sir, I wanted to ask that, like, my wife has got some gold in our wedding. We don't have any record, like any receipt for that, or nothing is there. So I want to put that gold in proper channel or proper system. So what shall I do, sir?
Is that in form of jewelry or bullion?
In form of jewelry, sir.
Why do you want to do anything? Leave it. Leave it in the locker where it is. I mean, sometimes not everything that we like to do with money. There will be a lot of other things which the sentiments and all which will be connected with that. In fact, the seminar that I used to conduct here in Dehradun, I used to tell people that you must actually give one set to your wife every 2 years, if nothing, not every year. And so that made me highly popular among the people here, and the lady used to come to listen, and they used to tell, let's see, Rajiv has told them this and we must get another set. So I really don't think unless you need some money, and being in the merchant navy, you need to monetize that gold or take a loan against it. You could, but I would suggest against it. It would probably in future be equal to your 1 year salary or maximum or whatever. So I think you would keep on with it. Unless your wife is also on the same page that no, let's get some of it earning, then it's a different thing. If it was bullion, I would have suggested that yes, go ahead. But see, I'm not here only to suggest to you how to make money or how to increase your money. I always try to take a very balanced view of things, and in my view, as per my experience in life, right from the age of 14, when I first time read Premchand's Gaban, it was an official book in our class 12, but I read it before. So it's very clear to me that a woman doesn't like anything more than the jewelry. Abhushan Prem, ऐसे कहा जाता है. So it's a very sentimental part. Snehal, am I right? Do you agree with that? We have a lady the sole single woman standing here, so she will probably tell us. Sneha, you agree with me that the jewelry is an important part of the dairy?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay, I'll tell Abhinav to get you another set next year.
Thank you, sir.
Can we develop that in ITR, like from this year onward, I'm planning to file an ITR on behalf of my wife.
See, you don't have to declare that. It is her Stridhan.
Okay.
It is a Stridhan. It could have been given by your parents, it could have been given by her parents. But henceforth it becomes Stridhan. And to this effect also, in keeping with the views from a lot of people which I keep getting, and the questions which I keep getting, Sneha, you can close your ears if you like. But people are little apprehensive in the initial years of marriage, like declaring everything to the wife, this and that. So I just want to say that once you're engaged, you're officially in the trap. You can't escape. So everything is hers. The day she wants, you can go back to your single room with a black and white TV and a single chair. Right. So all those things are irrelevant. It's Stridhan. The full thing is done, and you can just talk about it. So anyway, the parallel topic to today's is anybody else wanting to ask anything else? Maybe later on we may be having questions when so they could be also be answered by Manoj CA, Manoj Devgan. So I'm just waiting for him to come on board so that we could actually go over it. I have gone over this topic plenty of times with him. And the early answers that I have written, if you will do the keyword search on the group, writing wife, gift, spouse, gift. So you will get a lot of entries, the articles that I have singularly written. So this is a little touchy subject, and I was hoping Mrs. Jaya Mittal would have attended, who is also a CA. But I do not want to push it because of the Karwa Chauth. But nonetheless, we can again go over this supplementary to this topic in the future CPC that we will have. So the question here, let's start, is that the requirement of having a wife's separate portfolio. Why is it required to have a separate portfolio for wife? It is quite simple. You could say that she could just be the second applicant to my folder, to my folio, and whatever is there, it is hers. It is very simple. I mean, there is nothing different about it. So why have a separate portfolio for that? So in this regard, I have a few things that I have covered, try to bring it to forefront. You see, when I retired, or I quit C prematurely 10 years ago, that time there was no capital gains. Then in 2018 January, capital gains of 10% was levied on equity funds. And the debt funds were continued to have the taxation as it was before. Equity was not taxed before. So suddenly you had 10% plus cess and charge, it came to about 11.7% was levied on equity funds. And the debt funds had that long-term capital gain with index, not index and all that. Then the next step was they changed it to like the whole short-term case was scrapped for debt funds, and they said the entire gain will be treated as short-term and it will be added to your income, one part. Then they said equity will be enhanced to 12.5% plus cess and surcharge. So you see, continuous tinkering of tax laws. So that is why the topic particularly I kept of building a tax-proof. Now we cannot be tax-proof. Government will always be smarter than us, because when it decides to have some iota of taxation from you, it will find its way. It can even tax you on simply investing, which it does. It charges STT from you. It charges stamp duty from you at the time of selling also it charges from you. So all those things are done. I mean, you invest 1 lakh, your 5 rupees are taken away. After that, the tax is taken. So the point was that in order to make things a little more future ready, let me not say future proof, to make future ready, this is something right now, that we should have a parallel taxation by way of which we could split the incomes. So that in future, suppose in a particular year, after 10 years, you will be requiring nothing less than, let's say, 40 lakhs as your annual expenses. So now 40 lakhs if you take out from your own folio, that will be become taxable at a higher rate. You can never say tomorrow the equity income can also come into this purview of adding to the capital gains being added to your directly to your income. So then naturally you go into the higher bracket. So suppose you were supposed to withdraw 40 lakhs and you did it from your own folio itself or your portfolio itself, then you will be in a different bracket, let's say 35%. But if you split it between two, let's say you withdrew 25 from yours and 15 from your wife's, then you could arrange the taxation. So this was the taxation part, hoping that something as drastic as this could take place in future. Second part, okay, here Mr. Yogi is there. This is, you can see the only two videos. One is Mr. Yogi, is Mr. Manoj Devgan, the CA, who's supposed to be here. So, right on time, and that's exactly we had arranged. So, Manoj, we have just started the discussion that why should there be a parallel portfolio for the spouse? And the topics that I have written, the points that I have pointers that I have written was, and I have just taken up the first point was that we want to make it at least future ready. Like there was no capital gains on equity before. Am I audible, Manoj? Okay, right now you are on mute. Right. So I said let's make it future ready because as you know me for 20 years now. When I quit, there was no capital gains on equity. And on debt, it was either short term was added to your income and long term was 10% and 20% with indexation, without indexation. Then came 2018, they said your equity income will be taxable, right? Then came 2023, April, they said that your entire thing will be, the debt fund will be entirely taxable as per slab. Then again they changed it this year. So looking at future, that there is a possibility that they may come out with a fact that even equity will be taxable at 30% and we added to your income. Let's take the worst case scenario.
Yes.
So I said one of the pointers why we should have a parallel portfolio so that at that time we could split the income and probably bring down the tax slab. Instead of being 35%, it could be 20%. Let's hope government does leave us some iota of this thing somewhere. Am I right?
Right.
I was just telling them that if government wants to tax you, it will tax you. You cannot get away with that.
That's true. Yeah.
They can charge you any amount from like they have done it. For investing also they charge you. They charge you the STT, they charge you the stamp duty and everything. They do everything. Yeah. Just a moment. Let me. Hello. Yeah, sir. So they can tax you for anything that you want.
Yes.
तो उसमें मैंने फिर ये किया कि भाई let us do this. And then second was that suppose, and this is very relevant in today's feature with the high risk on C which is involved, which we are facing, and that is that suppose something happens, and it does happen. We are most of our colleagues are operating in high risk areas.
Yes.
And in case most of them, most of them, I would say 99% of us, I have not made any will. Now, as we know that when you don't make a will, it is very difficult to get the status of a legal successor, right? And getting the succession certificate is even more difficult.
Yes.
Yeah. So we do know that. So this is all for all of you to take notes also. If you have a pen and pencil next to you, this is something which is very practical that we are facing, and I can say this because I am being approached for this from different quarters. Every month there are mishaps. So in case of this thing is there, at least a person, if he or she has a separate parallel amount pending, then he or she can go on that. Why I'm using the word he or she? Because right now we are having quite a few couples on board. Husband and wife both are working on board. This may come as news to you. Yeah. So there are plenty of them. And sometimes they may not be husband and wife, but they are managing very well on board together. So the company is happy. It doesn't have to pay too many times. This was a very big case when the second officer, who was a lady, she asked to carry her spouse. And the company was a Danish company, and they said, well, we can't refuse it. And apparently it turned out that the spouse was the chief officer of the company. So the company said, okay, fine. So now the chief officer had to go, when the second officer had to go on leave, she simply went on leave and changed the cabins. She went to chief officer's cabin. So this actually happened. I'm sure the colleagues will be attendees will be very amused by this. So anyway, there is a delay. People should know that everybody should have a will as soon as you get married. This is very important to understand. Making a will we will take up because Manish wanted to discuss that, but may it be not possible today. Then people should understand that even though all the investment today require the nomination as compulsory, you cannot proceed beyond that.
Yes.
But still, having the nomination is not sufficient. Because tomorrow, anybody, suppose a person has just got married and something disastrous has happened earlier. A third officer from the hills of Uttarakhand, actually his car went into the ditch, and it was about 2 months after the wedding. And now in this case, the wife doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know exactly what are her options, and she's already in grief. So having a nomination is not sufficient. Nominee does get the money by law, but he may not be the actual person who is entitled to have it. Tomorrow, if somebody can produce a certificate that nominee is just a conduit to pass it on, unless the nominee himself has been made into a successor. Then the next is, in case we already discussed that the will is not prepared and the succession certificate becomes very difficult to get. This also happened with one of our friends when the money was approved from the company, but it cannot come directly to a person's account or to the wife's account. It actually has to come through the Labour Commissioner in Mumbai because the company's agency was there. And the Labour Commissioner is not very sympathetic to your cause that something has happened, disaster has happened. So they take the cut. And it takes months to get that money. So suppose even that money is also not very great. It's about, that was about $60,000. So it came to about 20 lakh rupees, and out of that 5 lakh was taken by the commissioner. So that is the level of it. And final reason why I say that the wife should have a parallel portfolio is basically it gives a motivation to start investing in her own sense, in her own name. She will take more interest if things are in her name. And I always believe that this thing, what we have regularly, discussion on this group every day, and also the webinar that we have weekly, does not give you any result if the wife is not involved in the process. This is my personal view. I may be wrong, but I will not plead guilty to it. Because I have seen it that nobody is interested, and everybody is saying that I haven't been managing. And this has happened with most of the people I have seen. So now the question is, we have given you enough reasons for the wife to have a secondary portfolio. This is in addition that she could be the second applicant in any of the folios. We are talking about mutual funds right now, that the wife, that the husband is invested in. He can have the wife as a second applicant, fine, that's okay. But that, because the wife is there, it definitely does not come under the purview of income tax as declaring her as an independent owner of that income, right? The taxes will be filed in the husband's name, right?
Correct.
So now the question which I need to put up to you is that suppose I am a chief engineer or a master, or let's take one step below, a second engineer or chief officer, and my income is my salary is about 45 lakhs, or let's make it 50, let's make it for the sake of 50. I am earning 50 lakhs a year. How much should I transfer to my wife? Number one. Number two, which is the best way that we should do it? Third, for those who are interested in academic discussions, is it all right to have it done it once in one go, or have it round the year, or which way should it be? So that, and please also deliberate on the topic of that PIN money, which I have already given them an introduction about it. So let's get it from you.
Right, yeah. This is actually a very interesting topic, and also having said that, one major reason why I say so is like generally each and every person is committing some or the other error while doing a transaction either in the wife's account or in the name of me. Right. As per the common understanding, if I am earning any sum of money, the general notion is that it is my money and I am free to transfer it to any of my family members. Right.
Right.
There is also an added input on these sections which says that any money transferred by an individual to his blood relative is exempt from tax. Right? Now, let us understand this particular sentence is totally true. Any person receiving any amount of money or asset from his blood relative as defined in income tax is exempt. So that is to say, if I transfer money or an asset, it may be any asset. It can be mutual funds, shares, jewelry, movable, immovable property, anything. If I am transferring any asset to my wife, then this particular transaction is not chargeable to tax, right? It is a non-taxable event. But this is only with respect to the transaction that we are referring to, that is transference of an asset by an individual to his wife or his blood relative. Right?
Yeah.
There is an added section to this which says that if there is any income earned by an asset which is transferred by your, it can be your relative, the income is to be clubbed in the hands of the transfer. Right?
Right.
It makes matter worse. Right? Now see, what generally happens is the government makes an act, right? People find a lacuna. They try to make benefit of that lacuna. The government gets smarter. It updates the relevant sections, plugs in those loopholes. Then people again find something or the other. So this is a continuous process which goes on between the taxpayer and the government. So what the government did, the government very cleverly added two words: directly or indirectly. So it need not to be to have the effect to say that you are transferring it in one go, one way or the other. It has definitely added the word directly or indirectly. Transfer of an asset, the income earned on such asset is to be clubbed in the hands of the individual. Right? Now, before we discuss the benefits of PIN money and the assets of PIN money, let us first of all see. Recently, in the recent times, there has been a surge in the number of income tax notices received by non-residents, either in their own name or in the name of their wives. There is a very simple reason to this. Reason number one, many of them were not filing their returns of income, declaring to themselves only that we are non-residents, we are not liable to pay tax. So the communication between the taxpayer and the government was never made that even if you are a non-resident, you have to communicate that fact to the government so that the government gets to know that okay, you have earned this much amount of money, this is your earning capacity, you are not liable to pay tax on it, so things are okay. Second case of notices which people have received in recent time is that they have purchased the property directly in their wife's or in their mother's name just to save on some stamp duty. Right? The only reason why, for all the people that I have come across who have received the notices, and I generally ask them a question that what was the reason why you made that investment directly in your wife or your mother's name? 99% of the replies were that we save some amount of stamp duty at the time of registration. So this is quite debatable. See, why I call it debatable? With a very simple fact if you're purchasing an asset, it is not coming in thousands. It's not coming in hundreds, it's not even a lakh. It runs into several lakhs, sometimes into crore of rupees. Saving on a very small portion of stamp duty doesn't make sense, right? It's as simple as, there's a very famous Bollywood song, राह में उनसे मुलाकात हो गई, जिससे डरते थे वही बात हो गई. So the thing that you were trying to, evade, get rid of, that again runs back to you. So even the investment, not only out of the PIN money, right? Even investments that are being made in family members' name, they also need, the right kind of direction, the right kind of thinking as to how it is to be done. Some cases, what people have said that, okay, they transferred the money to their wife's account, right? Then the wife purchases a property. Whenever the wife receives a notice that you have purchased an asset beyond your means of income, then you produce the chain of income that, okay, I received this money from my husband as a gift, so that amount is not taxable, and now I am purchasing this property. The ultimate benefit that taxpayers have been having till date is that the department still has some difficulty till the time it actually gets to know the situation in invoking clubbing provisions. I'll explain it in a very simple way. We all are identified by our PAN numbers, right? PAN numbers contain only three fields: name, father's name, and date of birth. There is no mention of spouse name, only father's name, right? Though mothers name could also have been added, in the new forms they ask you which name do you prefer, you want to prefer your father's name or your mother's name. Now the reason is, during your lifetime, your mother and father will remain the same.
Yeah.
Your spouses can change. Right?
Hopefully not, but may.
Yes, may. So the identification is just made by the PAN number. The PAN number does not give any kind of, the relationship between different PAN numbers. So if I have a PAN number, my father has a PAN number, we have different PAN numbers, we have different entities in the eyes of the government. We are not united by our relation in the eyes of government. If there is any, notice in which I have transferred some money to my father or vice versa, I will have to produce the fact that, okay, this is a transaction in which these two people are related by way of a blood relation, right? So this particular element here has to be taken care of, because the government is acting smarter day by day with the advent and introduction of the, the AI and digitalization. The process system has become very fast. As well as the issue of notices, because majorly now all notices, they are computerized. That is like, it's a very big information to the department, they can issue it in a particular time. The only exception which finds its way in, an asset earning, an asset purchased by the spouse out of PIN money, right? That is not clubbed in the hands of the transfer, right? Now, to understand, first question, whether you can transfer it at one go, or is it to be done on a regular basis? Let us understand what actually is meant by PIN money. So a PIN money is a small amount of money. Generally, it is a small amount of money that the husband gives to the wife for the purpose of running the household. Right? And then further going on, it says that, okay, out of the money that the husband has given to the wife, she incurs some household expenses, but she keeps on saving some money.
Right.
Out of the money that she has saved, she then invests it in any form, be it FD, mutual fund, shares, anything, gold, whatever. She purchases an asset which is now earning an income. Now this income will overrule the clubbing provision, since it is an income from PIN money.
Right.
Now, the onus to prove that this asset has been acquired through PIN money always lies on the assessee.
Right.
So in
In this case, the SSC will be the wife, the spouse.
because first the notice will come to the wife,
Right, right.
and then automatically, see, both are related. So
Yes.
having said that, the notice comes to the household. I would rather say so. So the household has to prove that whatever transaction that they have done, all around, it is something which has been done out of pin money.
Mhm.
The husband has given the money, she has made some expenditures, and then out of the expenditures, she has taken some amount of money, which ultimately finds its way into the investment.
Right.
So the pin money concept is basically it's not an event, it's a process.
Uh-huh.
We don't pay household expenses once in income.
Right.
School fees is to be paid monthly, electricity bill comes monthly, groceries come
Yes.
monthly.
Yes.
So when the onus to prove is on the SST,
Yeah.
the relevant protection gear has to be put on,
Understood. Yes.
right? Then this comes, the answer to question number one, that should it be done at one go or should it be done on a regular basis? My personal advice is any household expenses paid by the husband in the account of the wife should be on regular basis. Right? It doesn't mean it has to be done on the same date of every month. It can be plus and minus, but the frequency of the event should be regular to make it like a process. That is the process of giving the money to the wife's account. Wife is making an expenditure, she's trying to save on money, and then ultimately she's making that particular investment. Second, sorry. The only portion is that when it comes to proving that this amount has been done out of pin money, it is advisable that the money should be transferred via banking channels.
Mhm.
And whenever you are transferring the money through a banking channel, it is most advisable to write the narration as for household expense.
Mhm.
Whether you are making an internet transfer or a mobile
The
transfer,
remark which you write should be household expenses,
should be written as a household expense just to prove your own case that this
not
is the
family. We
amount.
cannot write family. Should not write family.
This should not write family. It is understood.
Okay.
Transferring to your wife is family transfer.
Family, right?
Right. So this is like one thing to be taken care of. Now, second thing to be taken care of is that this process calls in for a large patience.
Yes.
You need not to be impatient. Now, why I say so is, suppose you earn 45 lakh rupees, you know you join
Yeah.
a ship, you sign a contract, you know I will be earning 45 lakh rupees by the end of this year.
Yes.
So what you do is, you transfer a large part of your salary to your wife.
Right.
There's a 35 lakhs going to your wife. Why?
Uh-huh.
Because you might be already having a good portfolio. That is like something
Right.
which is the reality. You might be having a good portfolio in
Yes,
your
yes,
own
yes.
way. So what you are intending to do is say, okay, let me do one thing, let me transfer 35 lakh rupees to my wife's account and take the responsibility.
Mhm.
अभी तक का ये चीज है भैया कि अगर notice is issued by the department, then we will be having a hard time to prove the genuinity of this transaction, to prove it is not divergence of income. The
Yes.
government never has a problem with anything. The
No.
only thing is, it wants that you should not be having divergence of income.
Now, I need to stop you at this point. I hope it doesn't break your chain of thought.
So,
The point is two. Firstly, this may be applicable to a resident whose income comes under the taxable zone. But if the husband is maintaining his NRI status, so at least if we need to prove it tomorrow, at least we could say that this was already under the tax exempt category. So it was transferred to this. I'm just taking a very academic question.
yes.
So first was that.
Yes.
Secondly, what I had suggested to people, most of the time I am saying that is that please transfer whatever is the house, first determine your household expenses every month. Take an average of it around a year and transfer double the amount of that to your wife's domestic savings account. And at the end of the month, whatever is remaining, Because whatever you think the household expenses will be, largely the expenses will be more than that. On assumption basis. No, they're really less because of inflation. So at the end of it, whatever is remaining, that or little less than that can be invested. So the whole process, if you are doing as a standing instruction from your NRE account to the wife's domestic savings account, and from then on you are putting, because it will be a rolling cycle now, right?
Yes.
Once you start doing it, it will be rolling. So your money getting transferred there, and then further on getting transferred via SIP into the mutual fund will be probably a smooth process, like you said, requires a lot of patience.
Yes, exactly. Perfectly right. Coming to point number 2, as you said, it's a very good strategy to actually evaluate your household expenses.
Right.
Right? Now, household expenses generally do not include exceptional items.
Yes. Yes.
Right? It's like a regular routine expenses.
Yes.
So it's a very good habit, right? Calculate the general, household expenses, transfer an amount which is more than what is actually the household expense. Any amount remaining at the end goes in as an SIP.
Right.
It keeps on getting invested. Then coming to question number 1, that as an NRI, protection of the divergence of income. There are 2 points. First point, the status of a non-resident is actually conditional in case of CFAs.
Yes. Yes.
Right? So that is like the agenda number 1, because we have to be always careful when we talk about that criteria. Point number 2 regarding the divergence of the income is that if large amount goes, section 64 with respect to clubbing provisions get invoked, any income earned again will become income earned or accrued in India. It becomes taxable in India. So when again it flows back to the transfer of only. Under the same head, had it been his own income.
Yes.
So again it becomes taxable. So these are just the process is that we have to actually define out an area in which it's a slim line between left and the right. Between the pin money and the clubbing provision, that's a slim line.
Correct.
We have to tread that slim line to make sure that we are not falling on our own.
Understood.
If we manage this thing, investments in the name of wife over a long period of time can be continued without any material difficulties.
Understood. Yes.
Then, for everyone, I would rather say that people must at any free time go through section 64, Google it or get an abstract of the app. The best thing is, before you Google anything, go to the definite source of information. Google can blow up anything.
Yes.
So go to the income tax act, under the income tax website, search for section 64. It is very illustrative this thing. Why I say so? Because general mistakes are made in this way. Your salary comes to your bank account, there will be no mistake. You get your interest on NRE or NRO, there will be no mistake. The most common mistakes will be made under section. And this section is mandatory to be implemented. It is not optional. That I may opt for this, I may opt for this. It is not like this in the eyes of the department. It is mandatory to be implemented. If the clubbing is proved, it should be implemented in the right way. But as we have said before, that if you are able to make arrangements between what is written in law, then there is no problem. Therefore, I said that it requires a bit patience and it has to become a process.
Now, yes. Now, the supplementary questions which I have in my mind is first to explain that basically, as a seafarer, they believe in précis of everything, getting just the gist of everything, not reading everything. And this applies for all the regulations that we have to read on the board also, we have to follow a lot of things. So because of this reason, when I started this process of spreading this idea of financial planning and future planning and retirement planning, that's about 22 years ago. So I wanted to make it very precise that you should do this exactly like this, the way our chipboard manuals are written. In that, if you have to open a turbocharger or if you have to open the machine, it is written. You have to open this button, you have to open this, apply oil on this, put money code on this, and is assemble it, and that's the way you do it. Because, in my opinion, when we start doing on generalizations, that is where the problem of discretion also happens, and the problem when the problem discretion happens, and subjectivity comes in. I will do this, I will do that. So the whole idea why I wanted to do this, to discuss this topic, I have discussed this with you all so many times, and based on our discussions, I have also put it in as notes and articles which I have also shared with you. So now the whole idea was because we only talk through the aspect of mutual funds.
Yes.
We say this is the only thing that you need in form of equity to invest. The fixed income portion you can do on your own. You want to do by debt funds, you want to do by fixed deposits, you want to do by sovereign gold funds, your company deposits, whichever way you is not our botheration.
Yes.
And why I talk about this is the following question is that when we invest in mutual funds, and I am talking that we are preparing a portfolio which I always say in excess of 15 years.
Yes.
So this clubbing provision will come into picture only because in mutual funds so far it is, that accrual is not taxed. It is only redemption is taxed. As per the capital gain. So now take a hypothetical case where the wife is 25-year-old, the husband is 28-year-old, have got married, and the gentleman is very smart. How he has become smarter after attending this thing, and he starts investing in his wife's name in a very nice way. Not many people actually they have faith in the wife in the beginning, which I have come to know with through the discussions, but well, they have to understand things.
Yes.
So they have now, when I say 15-20 years, the ladies are more disciplined, as I have seen in my interaction on this financial field and also in the Pachmana. They are more determined, and we need to tell them 15 years, they'll make sure it's 25. So then imagine after 15 years or 25 years, when they need the money to put the children to college or for the wedding, 20 years won't be wedding, but 25 years could be when the children are going to get married, and they choose to decide to sell the mutual funds. And let's say these are the equity or the debt mutual fund or some other hypothetical category which may come up in the next 25 years.
Yes.
Now at that time, it is this time that the clubbing provision will come. So now, if you remember the discussion which we had about 2 or 3 years earlier, that at this time, now the gentleman, like a very true-hearted Indian and a very loyal income taxpayer, he tries to show the capital gains in his name of an investment which has been carried out in her name for the last 15 years or 20 years or multiple years.
Yes.
And now at this time, what are the chances of his getting a notice? And should he continue to do it in a common sensical way to file the return in his wife's name and show her capital gains early? Assuming that there is a tax implication at that time. And that tax implication is coming 60-40, let's say that ratio.
Correct.
So let's discuss that hypothetical scenario.
Yes. What actually happens is, since the PAN number will be used for the wife, primarily, the income will be calculated in the hands of the wife, right? Under the relevant head, be it house property or it is capital gain, whatever it can be. And then from the wife's income tax, it flows to the husband's account as clubbed with the hands of husband. So ultimately, the agenda of the husband will be reached, that he is able to show that, and this is the right way of actually reflecting the transaction, because since the PAN number is used for the wife, first in the wife's return we show the letters and the gains only, and then out of the calculation that is made for the profit on the capital gains, we transfer that as clubbed with the hands of other individual along the details of PAN number, that with whose PAN number this is being clubbed. Then when we prepare the return of the husband under the same relevant head, right? So if it is capital gain here, it becomes capital gain here. If it is house property here, it becomes house property here. And then it becomes clubbing provisions subtracted, and this particular income which is flowing in from the account of the wife, that gets clubbed under the hands of the husband. This is the process. If he just in case tries to say that, okay, what I will do, I will directly issue it in my return, it will be technically wrong.
after 15 years, like at that level.
Yes.
So it is once now we can say that we have already laid a nice foundation via the provision of PIN money as long as it exists, transferring it in the right way to the wife.
Yes.
And now I will ask you a little non-legal question also here. That let us assume that a small income of hers can be shown to be generated, which most of the Indians are doing, and that also gets added there. So now, when she has invested, she has built her own portfolio through her own due diligence from the money which was left over from the household expenses, and she has invested, and over a period of time, 15, 20, 25 years, she's got a good, nice portfolio. Now she wants to sell. Whenever she sells or redeems, the capital gains will be taxed in her name or that assessment year.
Correct.
There is no doubt about it. There is nothing.
Nothing fishy about it.
Okay, right. This is basically the gist of the whole thing which we had planned for the evening, which we have actually given very substantial but very pointed time, and we are at it. Now, just a question which I asked, that there are a lot of Indians residents who actually transfer money, like they are having moonshining, they have one job and one parallelly they do some other job, like somebody working in the bank will also be an agent for some insurance company or something, and this he will be running in the wife's name. I think every insurance, this thing which is having a name of the wife is run by the husband most of the time.
Yes.
So now naturally that becomes her income. So can a seafarer also resort to such methods sometimes?
See, it depends upon what kind of income is being generated. That is the ultimate point. The source and the nature, they go hand in hand in determining the taxability. So, just like we said, even though the work is being done by the husband, but the PAN number and the income is coming in the name of the wife as an insurance company, it is not a problem. Same thing can happen with people who are into the real estate business. They might be doing something in the name of their wife, though they are physically on site doing the work. Now, the most important question is for a seafarer, what kind of income can he generate first?
Now, in few cases, sometimes the spouse is a professional, but not a practicing professional. Like most of us, I think about 20% of us are married. I have taken a good survey. 20% marry doctors. And about very rarely, one or two cases there where the wife is a CA, and a few of them are engineers, architects. So about 30% of the people marry professionals who don't actually work. Yes, my.
So again, coming back to the same thing, let us presume that the spouse of a seafarer is, let us say, an architect. He can generate his income, but how does it go?
Where is it from?
Yes. So if there is an income, there will be basically three kinds of incomes that will flow. One, income is received in cash. Second, income is received through bank or banking channels, and third is income received in kind. घर बनाया किसी का, she designs something, she does the interior, person gives them a car, right? It's not in cash, but in kind. So there can be three methods. So you can have a generation of the income, but you need to suffice the second contemporary part of it as well. If the income is earned, right? Where is that income? If that income is earned in cash, right? It is not finding its way to the bank account. Generation of this income actually does not make too much of sense because it is just paper generated income. Right? So if somebody has to do this, then some kind of hard work on this has to be done by them. To evaluate this thing, that merely filing a return and saying, okay, income from professional fees or other sources is 5 lakh rupees and filing the return of income, it will only help in escalating the GDP of the country. But in particular panel,
the person, he will not be having much benefit.
He will not be benefited about it.
Because I do keep getting questions in a way that people have started selling real estate now for a change, which is a good sign. And in this process, they do get some non-official money also, which we call cash or black or whatever. Now, they say that where can I utilize this? So now, if suppose they like to deposit this money in tranches, in small figures, I mean, I should not be asking this question, but it's a practical question. So, we know that you've been advising me that we can't withdraw more than 10,000, 10 lakhs in cash from the bank account. So, in one financial year. And because then you will get a notice, a show notice from the department. So, what is the figure that he can deposit in the bank?
Vice versa, I would say so. Let us say, any money which is money which is back to the bank account becomes the income of that individual, right?
Yes.
So the first thing is that if he has access to certain sum of money like this, then again, I would rather repeat, have patience. Don't be in a hurry to, deposit all the money in one go.
Understood.
You need to be patient. So gradually you can do that, and whatever amount that you are depositing, alright, will ultimately become part of the income of the spouse. So if the spouse is professional, that becomes professional income in her hands.
Yes. Yes, obviously, if it's the architect, he cannot get more than a couple of thousands as fees. We understand that.
Yes. It depends upon what kind of the profession that we are trying to look at. So even if their transactions can be voluminous, but then we need to prove also that at the end of the day, having planned everything, department will always have a right to ask the question.
Yes.
Right. So they can ask for, okay, give me the list of clients that you provided the services for. Let us
Okay.
call for cross information that who are the people who receive service from you, and all the people paying you cash of the same amount, right? Regularly. So this is exactly like I'm kind of trying to give a bird's eye view about the department's psychology.
Yes.
You are determining, you are showing a particular amount as your income. Department will never have any problem on it. But in cases, they may seem so, this was what the property was sold for. In the same way you started generating your income, okay, then let's go for the if the amount is large enough, right? Second misconception. Generally, I have heard a lot of people saying that I'm, having just a petty deposit in the bank account. I'm just a small fish in the sea. There are big whales swimming across. Forget this concept. If your luck is bad, even if the transaction is small, you can get a this. It depends upon the severity of the information that has come across. Correct?
Yes, because on the basis of Aadhaar and PAN, almost everything can be tracked and collated. And since the individual is not doing it's all machine learning and deep data mining, I think they have a better ability to question. They must have put a lot more. Yes, I understand.
One common mistake which I've always tried to tell people not to do is, like, there's a gentleman, he has a house in his own name.
Right.
He's on rented. Then what happens is, he feels that, okay, there is rent coming from the property. So what they do is, they say, okay, you deposit this rent into my wife's account. And the wife shows that income as a house property income. Two very bad things happening at the same time. One, first of all, you fall into the clubbing provisions straight away.
Yes. Yeah.
Because asset is yours, it is in your name. You are diverting that income from your name to your wife's name. Your wife is the owner of that property. Right? So again, if time is bad, again that income will be added back to your additional income. Second thing, this is a typical case of divergence of income Because the moment the officer will ask for, okay, show me your property papers, the neighbor must also never be there.
Yes. Correct.
You can, right? And you are telling your tenant to get that thing done in your wife's account deposit. This is one of the most common mistakes that we have amongst people. This should definitely be avoided.
Yes. Right. So I hope all of us have been listening to this. Even there are people who came in little late, so definitely they lost the context. That's why I say please try to be in time. But in any case, I hope you've been recording this, Manish.
Yeah.
But I would like to.
Yes, sir, I'm recording.
Right. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So I would like to explain this thing when I took it up with Manoj years ago, and he said that those people who would like to be very righteous and like to declare the mutual funds or units or shares sold by the wife, and they being very trying to be good to the lender and declare it as their capital gains in their name, that it amounts to something like the person is walking in front of you. This is he gave us this example, and his wallet falls out. And now you being a very righteous person, you take up that wallet and try to put it back into his pocket. So at that time, if you get caught, it's difficult to prove that actually you're trying to remove the wallet or you're trying to put it into his pocket. So this was a very good analogy, and this was basically on what discussion was supposed to be based. The whole concept of legality of making your wife's portfolio, the necessity of creating your wife's portfolio, the process of generating your wife's portfolio, and the importance of it. The importance of it will be appreciated more by her once she starts doing it. And as I have witnessed for so many people around me who have been in touch for all these 2.5 decades, that there comes a time actually when the wife takes over your job of managing the portfolio. She will manage your portfolio also, as well as her own, and would probably do better than you would have expected. So I think we have. Is there anything else you would like to add, Manoj, here, or?
Regarding maintaining the wife's portfolio, I would just like to say that it is a very healthy habit. First of all, you find a companion to discuss at home. Apart from discussing, the other matters, it's a healthy habit, right? Then, secondly, for people who are seafarers, there may be times when they are not in good connectivity over the seas, right? And as we all know that market is always fluctuations. So there are good times to pick up something and good times to sell something.
Correct.
Your wife can be a very good help in such times, because at least she would be aware of certain terms that are being used.
Yes.
Also, do educate your wife about the terms that are used, the trend that is going on, right? Because ultimately we say that make a short sell. I'm sure not able to understand what you are saying.
Yeah.
So terminology should be communicated, make them aware, right? And also tell them that okay, this is a slow process. It will take time. Your portfolio cannot instantly match your account. Your portfolio will always be superior initially with that portfolio. But with the processing continuing over time, this will be very helpful. Second, there are also cases where people may off-market transfers, specifically in case of shares. So, whenever you are making off-market transfers, make it a point whom you are transferring. That is also very important.
Yes.
Right? Again, clubbing provisions are affected. Third thing is, though it calls the nomination at every, whether opening a bank account, loan account, fixed deposit, mutual funds, shares, anything. But having a will at the right time is very important. The general notion in India is that if you tell a person to make a will, he'll be offended with your advice. As to, no, I'm not going anywhere in the near future. But if the family is limited, it's a very, very newly defined. Things still may not be that bad. Where exactly things get bad is when you have properties,
Yes.
immovable properties, and you have legal hires running more than one, and all of them have undivided share of that property. This is again one of the worst case scenarios wherein future relations between the legal heirs will suffer. What exactly I mean when I say undivided share? Undivided share would mean that let us say there is this, I'll just show. This is a plot of land, right? Owned by Mr. X, right? After Mr. X, right, when he for his heavenly abode, he has got 3 legal heirs. So this property, entire property, is now having undivided share between 3 people. So if I talk about this particular portion of land, this is owned by 3 people, even this is owned by 3 people, and even this is owned by 3 people. Now it might be that the road, the main road is on this particular part. Now naturally all of them would have the incentive that all of the shares, that first share, my share would come here, rest would be for the other 2 people. Now in this case, nobody gives a bend to have that accommodation. Always gives rise to disputes, pending court cases. So if you are having any property as on date, right?
Yes.
Divide that property, do not leave anything as undivided share between people. Whenever you feel that your legal hires has increased or decreased, always amend the will.
Right.
Similarly, for any immovable property that you acquire in future, update your will to mark definite shares in that particular, with identification as to which share will belong to whom.
Yeah. Manish, I think Manish has raised his hand because he had already asked this question and he wanted us to take up the matter of preparing the will for this time, but I thought it would be better to split it. But it is good to have your input the way you are saying, and I think it is answering his question as well. Please continue.
So, if you make a will, right, any will
Yes.
is revocable if it is again made by you,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So it doesn't mean it is irrevocable.
Right.
If I am making a will right now, I will always update that will, find something new changes. Now, what kind of changes necessitate making a new will or a revised will? Point 1. If there is any addition of an immovable property.
Right.
Bank balance are never a problem because even if it is undivided, it is easy to divide a bank balance.
Divide. Yes.
Right? So if you have opened up a bank account, let us say with the Punjab National Bank, and then you open a bank account with State Bank of India also, you need not divide. No need to do it. But in personal capacity, and I'm just advising, if you have 2 house properties, and then you acquire a third one, right? Update your will to mark definite shares in them. Second reason is change in relations. Someone was very good in your books at one point of time. Now that person is gone, you do not want any part of your property to belong to that person. Update your will, you can remove that. Then, preferably, always register your will.
Okay.
Right? Otherwise, finding witnesses at the right point of time to prove that you made the will be difficult. That is point 1. Point number 2, it will always be subject to manipulation. You always say, okay, this person had close relationship with the other person, so he's acting this way, that he wrote this will this way, because it is unregistered. There is no authenticated proof, no official copy lying in the government book.
Understood. Yes.
If it is quite definite that once you have thought over, right, make that. Third is addition of a member as a legal. Suppose there is a person, he had one child at the time of making one will, the first will, then maybe after a number of years, he has another child. He should update his will to include the other person into the will as well. Will acts very close in assisting when the person is gone. It will help you with a lot of things. Now, strangely, with a large number of cases, the legal hire certificate is to be produced at n number of cases.
Yes.
So even if the return of a deceased is to be filed. Now, also just elaborate on this point. Income Tax Act doesn't differentiate between a person who is living or a person who is not alive.
Wow.
Right? It is indifferent between them. It only says that till the time the person was living, any income that was earned by him should be offered to tax. Now, who will offer that money to tax? The legal hire. Right? Because that money will flow to the legal hire. So, under the individual, the legal hire's income tax own portal, he has to make a request to add himself as a legal hire to act on behalf of the deceased.
Yes.
So common documentation that is to be produced is first the PAN card of the deceased, PAN card of the death certificate, and most importantly the legal hire certificate. It is not very difficult. If you find a good lawyer, it is not very difficult to obtain the legal hire certificate. The only thing is it will require for two set of witnesses along with the local municipal councillor of that area to witness that I know this person for such a number of years and this is the relationship subsisting between these people. So this is done and then you get a copy of the legal hire certificate. Even if you are not in need of it, my advice is get it done. Because you never know when it will be required in future.
Yes.
So this is like exactly going well. Like well definitely helps in easing out any kind of enmity between the legal hires. They will always remain good relations between themselves. Secondly, it avoids both disputes. It avoids bank account blockages. Easy to get the money from the bank, right?
Yes.
The legal hire typically would help you assist not only in transference of the Dakhil Kharij of the properties in Nagar Nigam or in the land records, it will still be a very helpful tool. So these two tools go hand in hand. Now legal hire certificate is to be done by the legal hire successors, but will is to be done by the individual himself.
Yes. No, there was a case recently where somebody's father died intestate without making a will. So this is what a term for all the colleagues. When somebody passes away without making a will, so it is called intestate, or I think that's the pronunciation.
Yes.
So in this particular case, the generating or requesting the legal succession certificate or the succession certificate or legal age certificate, it is called by different names in different countries.
Yes.
So different states. So this was very tedious, and it was costing something about 1.5 lakh. Because the court fees also has to be paid, and the legal advisor also had to be paid, and a lot of, and it was not simple affair. Like he had to take the waiver from different family members to say that he's a successor. Yes.
Yes. Generally, if things are not that bad, it will not cost too much. Provided you have the relevant documents with yourself. So generally, now what has recently happened is that if you're updating your Aadhaar card, right, the new Aadhaar card will not mention your father's name. The earlier Aadhaar cards used to mention your name, your father's name, date of birth, right, Aadhaar number on the front and Aadhaar number and address on the back side.
Right.
The new set of Aadhaar cards which have been issued, they only mention your name, your date of birth, Aadhaar number and the address on the other card. So if you're having the right kind of documents, right, and just to prove that, one very important element before I brush out of this thing in case of legal hire certificates, whenever preparing a legal hire certificate, right, the reason why people have difficulty in getting it done is they do not want to disclose the true or the entire legal hire certificates. So what happened? a person, right, having 4 legal hires. One of his, children goes to get the legal succession certificate done, mentions incorrect information, just mentions his mother and himself as legal. It is incorrect. Right? Definitely it will be a problem. Mention the true legal hires. Who's going to in your chain? Never have anything wrong within the given limits.
Yes, this I think the mariners should understand better, because not only they have to abide by the regulations of the country in the professional matters, we also have to abide by the different regulations for each country.
Yes.
So when it is everybody's experience that whenever they try to cook books, different books are there on board, they sometimes fall flat on that aspect. There have been cases where entirely unrelated, the cases have been rejected for bunkers with totally unconnected things. Like all the lawyer had to do was prove that the integrity of the person is incorrect on the basis of the oil record book. Oil record book had nothing to do with this particular thing, but they said that they can't be believed because they have been purging their figures. So yes, this is very important to understand, and 2 or 3 things that should be carried away from this particular meeting is that please do not fib anything. Those days of manipulation in government records are gone. Trying to think that you are under the radar, those days are also gone. Now you cannot afford to think that you will be under the radar. There is no under the radar now. Everybody is above the radar.
Yes. And
you have to file your returns. Whether in my own opinion, I always say file returns whether you are NRI or not NRI. File return whether your income is subject to tax, comes under the bracket of tax or not. File return whether you have a TDS or not. File return. It's a very small fee, and try to do it through a legal person who's a professional, rather than trying to do it on your own. I mean, like a lot of people on this group, they say that why should I go through a distributor? I'm doing it on myself. When you're actually not doing it yourself, I'm helping you do it. So I'm trying to take away the bread and butter of some distributors whom I don't even know, far away in another state. Similarly, when the time for a final return comes, everybody asks which form to fill, which form 1 or 2 or 2AB, 3C, whatever numbers are. And I'm saying this 1A, 2AB because I have never, and I repeat, never have I filed my own return. I started working in 1987, and I am with Manoj and his company, I think from 2003. Until date, I have never ever seen what the website looks like on which the returns are filed ever since the website thing has come out. Because I provide all the documentation, and my poor understanding with whatever I feel is the capital gain, because my entire income is only through capital gains. So I provide it to him, and he takes care of everything. And similar is the case for all the CAs. If you give your documents in time, the returns would be filed in time. Nowadays, it's not even required that you stay in the same city, because you don't need to see him. You don't need to see your CA or your tax professional, whoever it is. And the guidance is always there. He's already tried to form this group of Tax Yogi, and he tries to give a collective advice when few queries come up on the same format. So that is for you to take home from this, and we all try to do this for your benefit. Nobody is getting anything out of this, and it is only a process of making you understand that this is also a compliance. All the compliances that you do on board or on your personal documentation, professional documentation, this is the most important thing. Please understand that the income tax department has the right to do anything. It can destroy your life in one night. The next day, even if you owe only 3 lakhs of taxes to the government, it can freeze your accounts having 3 crores. And you will not be able to pay your taxes from those accounts either, unless you have to take permission. Please deduct my taxes and then give me the money and unlock the accounts. It has happened to one of our batchmates, and another batsman who's present here also knows about it. I mean, he only informed us. So please understand, we are talking about serious things, and anybody who earns your kind of money on shore, because suppose you are earning even 60 lakhs, you add 35% to it. That is your actual income if you were in India. That person will have a whole team of professionals behind him to support him. He'll have a proper financial advisor, he'll have a distributor, he'll have a tax professional. And in certain manners, he will also have a nominated lawyer who will help him at different times. So do not think that you can survive by living in a limbo. And you have to have your team backing. Do not go by what is given on the net. Net can provide you a small view into it, but income tax ruling has no meaning, because income tax department also issues clarifications, like you have interpretations on the Marpol, the thin books which you get. They are interpretations because they understand that you will not be able to assimilate all the information given to you. So they give clarifications on every new law which is added. But remember that from the income tax act, nothing is taken away. You just keep adding to it every year. So every year the income tax act, it just grows bigger and bigger. And if we think, just like those people who think that, we can invest directly into the stocks and make a better return than the mutual funds, it is impossible. Those people are professionals. They're sitting there with their equity research team and doing the job. How can we outmatch them? Similarly, a tax professional is a person who actually has spent a good part of his younger age to get to where he is. It is same like you. You started off at the age of 17, then by maybe 35 you can say that I have become a master, but you have 18 years behind you. It is no less. Right? So if you think somebody can say, oh, what does the captain do? Tell me, what does the captain do? Chief officer does the cargo work, chief officer does this, second officer does the chart work, third officer does the this thing. What does the master do? Well, you know what you do. You know what the chief engineer does. So it is the same way. He is not seen, but he is visited only when you get a notice or when you get a query. I have been lucky so far that whenever I had some queries and all, they were simply directed to him. You should also have your own tax professionals wherever you feel comfortable, and the various platforms which are provided to you are basically for your convenience. And on such an important day, he's also taken out time to come to us, and we will also look forward to him visiting us for different matters. But we need to prepare a proper channelized queries so that we can now, hence on, we will go topic wise. Like next time we already talked about will, but we can go a little more specific how to make a will. And then a very important thing which we have been looking forward to, Manoj, for some time was Chief Engineer Surendra Deshpande is here. And very coincidentally, the time when I was actually exposing myself to this idea of private family trust or PFT, he also asked a question about that a few weeks later. So we need to work on that, because that actually is much more practical way than even a will. But that I think people will only be able to appreciate once they have crossed the age of 40 and the assets have increased in certain way. Because initially they will not be able to understand the amount, because it is not cheap also. It is not like a will you get registered for a few thousand rupees. It takes much more money, and yes, and it has to lot more thinking is required, because this becomes only practical when you have children and your children are about to get married or they are married, and you are thinking about 4-5 generations. So those are family trust, private family trust, and we will take this topic and we will probably one of the first people to talk about this and implement this in our lives. So right now I will leave the stage to anybody who wishes to have any query for any of us, both of us, or preferably have it for Mr. Manoj Devganiya. If you have to ask any question, if you have any query, you can do that. Anybody? Not really. Otherwise, they'll ask me all the questions which they should be asking you.
Hello sir, Rakesh here.
हाँ जी राहुल बताइए.
I'm Rakesh Goyal.
Yes. Please go ahead.
Yes sir, this is for Sir Manoj. This is regarding that right which you're talking about to take on the wife's name. If the property is joint name and the first name is wife, the money can come in the wife's account, correct for that?
Correct for that. See, The only thing that we were mentioning there was that if the wife is not the owner of the property, even joint owner is an owner, right? So if the wife is a joint owner, whether the first or the second the second joint owner, then there is no problem. Problem is only in those cases where rent is being received by the wife, but she is not the owner of the property. In this case, it is totally fine.
But if she is a co-owner, say in a property of 2 or 3 people, it does not have to be proportionately received. No, not required. Understood.
It can be, like it can definitely be debated that she is just letting out her part of the property. That can be debated, that is not a problem.
Okay. Right. So we have Rahul who raised his hand first. Rahul, can we have you? Your query?
Hello, a very good evening to everybody. Thank you for taking over the time, Mr. Manoj, and on such a beautiful topic. I understand that you advise that the procedure should be through the banking channels in which we have very clear records, and we must mention that household transactions, as the remark mentioned, and it should be on a regular basis. But when we consider the amount to be transferred, is there any number that we can decide on? For example, we know that this is the household income, and then we want her to say something from that.
Yes.
Is there any rule for that, or I mean, the income tax department says, okay, if it's beyond that, then this much is acceptable? Is there anything on that?
Yes. Very good question. We have to just had a brief discussion on that as well. That generally you should be transferring an amount which is more than the actual household income. Now, the amount that is to be transferred has to be reasonable enough.
Household expense. Household expense.
Yes, household expense and the amount that is being transferred. So you cannot have that, okay, household expense is 60,000, you are transferring 6 lakh, right? In that eventuality, things do not match together. It is not going to become a part of big money only.
Right. So basically, it's just slightly above. What I can understand is that, okay, for example, if I know my household expenses are 1 lakh, including all the expenditure per month. So,
Yes.
1,20,000, I mean, there is no thumb rule, I just have to take a call randomly.
Yes. That also depends upon see. For a person who is initially earning 20 lakh rupees a month, his household setup expenses will be a bit different from a person earning 80 lakh rupees in year, right? Household expenses generally do vary with the amount of income, but when we talk about household, always remember this number. Mention a list of the expenses of the household expenses that you put, right? There are some kind of a difference in the figures in electricity bills, school education, right? Generally, groceries do not go more than 1 to 1.5 times of any household. In your household, they are not going to be too much subjected to changes. So, the correct amount, you cannot always write that this is my household, income. It is always budgeted. You budget your household expense, then you spend it. It is never the reverse path. That first all the household expenses will be paid by someone else, then you reimburse that person. It never happens like that. So, your typical question of the ascertainment, it will never be very ascertainable, indefinite terms. But yes, whatever are the general household expenses, transfer an amount over and above the general household expenses, then the remaining portion will be interest.
Let's go back to this thing what I've been suggesting to people, most of the people. Even though I am taking, mostly when I take the retirement matrix into consideration, I take a higher figure of 2.5 lakh a month expenses. But those are not actually household expenses. I mean, that could involve your club fee, your different, petrol and all that. So generally, the thing that I always talk about is that suppose your household expenses are 1 lakh a month. So you start transferring 2 lakhs a month to your wife's account. This is my view. And suppose out of that, sometimes 80,000 is your household expense, sometimes 1,20,000 is your household expense, so 1 lakh. So you do not have to transfer the remaining amount completely into the investment. Like you set up an investment, let's say about 50 to 60,000 into the wife's folio. We are only talking about investment purpose here. We are not really talking about anything else. I mean, she should also show that she bought some jewelry with that. Why not? Like we already decided that she should buy at least one set in every 2 years, which Snehal has agreed to. So you should also buy that. No, the husband can transfer that to that, and she can say, show that I have bought this jewelry. Now, does it require any documentation in the income tax records for income tax returns for the next year?
The bills should be correctly issued
In the name of the wife. Yes. So, does a figure of 2 lakh appear okay to you? Let's talk about specifics. Most of the people here, even if they are fourth engineers getting married, their household expenses will not greatly vary because the wife will be there behind, so different things. So let's take that figure as 2 lakh.
Yes.
Is it okay?
That seems okay. That seems okay. Also, one thing, any amount, like just as I mentioned at the time of marriage, any amount received at the time of marriage, right, is not chargeable to bank.
In cash or bank account.
Yes.
Yeah, normally, we have not started seeing bride and groom holding the POS machine that you can swipe a card either.
Well, but luckily in my marriage, I got 2 checks.
Oh, that's nice. That's No, but like we can have the guru, the couple now sitting with the swipe machine that you can please. Oh, no, we have UPI. We have UPI now. Yes. Much better. Okay, so now we also have Captain Sushant here. And
if I just add one more query, I totally understand that this is a very subjective matter and has to be thought about very well. But I also understand that after we start using the PIN money, all the expenses must be from only wife's account. Only then she will be able to support that, the husband is giving me and then I'm spending and I'm saving.
Correct.
So
That's right.
no, your liquor bill doesn't come on that. Your liquor bill doesn't come on that.
No, absolutely clear, total. No sense. No. But yes,
That's good. Your investment goes up.
can we use the expenses? For example, now we are a joint family and my father is also paying and my wife also pays. I mean, then can we increase this amount or can we vary this amount? Showing that because let's say we are going out.
So see, depending upon the family size, right, and the family creation.
Yes, we will take up your question also. Please don't go anywhere. I know we'll give a priority now.
Suppose you are living in a joint family, right? Suppose you are living in a joint family, so definitely your set of family household expenses will be a bit higher, right? But as you have mentioned, it is like, see, if you are transferring money into your wife as household expenses, then definitely household expenses should be actually be expended from her account also.
Yes.
Right? That's true.
Okay, Captain Sushant, if you don't mind, let us take Snehal's this thing because she's on fast and she has to go for her Karwa Chauth this thing. So let us take a question. Snehal, पूछिए.
No issue, sure.
Snehal, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask the question, please. Hello, Snehal, are you listening? Yes, please.
Hello.
Haan ji,
I added my question in the chat.
Yes, we have received that question. Yes, Snehal. Snehal asked the question that should the frequency of PIN money correlate with the frequency of investments made during the PIN money? See, it is not that the magic concept, but definitely PIN money should always precede the investment if you're looking for a safe zone. Right? It also can happen that, see, in generally, if I were to do this thing, I would first of all start paying that PIN money over a couple of months, maybe 3 or 4 months, and then start investing. So that to make the concept real, that PIN money was actually being paid, right? And it was thought upon to invest by the wife, rather than the PIN money being received in month number 1, and similarly the investments, they fall in the same month. So This is like my personal. First of all, I would rather transfer a couple of installments, and then I would rather start investment from my wife.
Yes. Yes, that's what actually I told that in the beginning, that we will have a few months running like that, but once your expenses have taken place from that, and then you start investing, then it will be a rolling process. Means your husband can set up standing instructions to debit your account and the money going in from NRE to savings account, your account, and from there you will keep making expenses, and then let's say after 3 or 4 or 5 months you can start investing. Is that correct? Is it all right to be specific?
Yes.
And then it will always be rolling. You don't let your SIP stop, and he will not let the transfer stop, because the household expenses are very required. So in the whole bargain, when you will talk about months and years together, all this will become very cohesive. It will become a way of life, like Manoj said. It's all about patience. It has to be done in a very patient way, right?
Thank you, sir.
There is another question by Aditya Kumar, which says that can a legal height certificate be generated when the individual is alive, just to be for future proof? No. For the legal height certificate, the first requirement would be the death certificate of it.
Yes. I have to die first before certificate. All right. So now, Sushant, you can ask a question, please.
Yes, Mr. Manoj, appreciate. Thanks for all the feedback, for the inputs. One question is basically on the same lines of Mr. Rakesh. Say if the individual is also having a HUF account, like
Yes.
for him, his wife, and his children and all.
Correct.
And it's two questions combined. So one is he is having a property, and the property, the husband and wife are the joint owners.
Correct.
Okay, so they can have rent coming in any of the accounts. In addition, can they have the rent coming in the HUF account? Question number one. Question number two is, if they are having a property which is registered under the HUF, and in that HUF, the Karta is the husband and the children and the wife are other members.
Correct.
So the property which is registered under the HUF, can the rent come into the only in the account of HUF, or it can come in the husband and the wife?
Correct. Okay. See, your first question, the property is the joint name of husband and wife, right? And the rent should definitely come to the husband and the wife if the entire property has been let out. Correct. So if the entire property has been let out and the total rent is received, it should actually be split up between the husband and the wife. Now we'll be clear. I'll come back to this thing again. Now your first question is, can it be received in the name of HUF? Answer is no, because HUF is not the name of the property. Right? So if you are actually making property in the name of husband and wife, but coming into the account of the HUF, it would ultimately be the same scenario wherein property is in the name of someone else and the rent has been transferred in the name of someone else. Now, point number two, in case the property is in the name of HUF, then rent should be coming in the account of HUF, because HUF has a separate entity by virtue of being Hindu undivided family and having a different PAN number. So if the property is in the name of the HUF, rent should come in the name of HUF. Now, coming back to question number one, wherein we said that if the house property is in the name of husband and wife, right? Now, also very important to gather this information that when the property was purchased, who actually paid the consideration for that property. So ultimately, if it was only the husband who had paid up, again clubbing provisions will apply, right? Or if your deed is totally silent about the percentage as to which it is being made, or it gives typical reference that who has made the payment of this trust of this property, then things will be different.
Got it. Thanks. Appreciate.
Right. So anything else? Any other questions? Can you see?
Yes, sir. Very myself, Manish Gupta. Thank you, sir. Manoj, sir. Thank you very much for coming to the meeting. And I just want to ask means personal question that I have started means after starting the PIN income to my wife for 6 months, I started investing 75,000 per month. Means I am transferring 2 lakh per month to her account, and I am investing 75,000 per month. So is that okay now?
Yes, with the level of income, if the transfer of income of roughly 2 lakh rupees as PIN money sounds good, that investment of 75,000 in SIPs or whatever way.
He's a chief engineer, so he's definitely earning 60 plus
Right.
in a year. So that's all right.
That's all right.
And here the person who asked you a question, Captain Sushant, he also comes from a very monetarily educated family and is from Dehradun, and he's also started his own company for guidance on various financial matters and investments. He's in his own right, and he's affiliated to a company from Chandigarh. So normally we will like that if anybody needs a guidance, then they approach his company to start your investment at least in the beginning, because we see that a lot of people are facing KYC issues. So gentlemen, I think today is a good time to stop here if we don't have any queries, because it's a kind of festive and a lot of the wives are waiting for the husbands to be back. Then certainly Manoj, and Manoj, it was really a pleasure having you here, and there were so many doubts that you cleared which we always had. Because when they ask me, it is, it's a second-hand thing which I dish out to them. I don't really know much about these matters, but yes, things do come in the right way, the right perspective. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much, and let's see each other on the next Sunday. Maybe 27th is a little busy day, but we'll see if we can make it. So. Festive season is like, generally, but yes, if people do have some, I come to know from the queries that they have, so we will prepare next time for the video. And Manoj's personal request from few people is to please lay the groundwork for this personal family trust.
Right.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Signing out. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Take care.